many years that I thought that health was just based on the way we looked. And so I focused on looking my best. I focused on having low body fat. I focused on performance. And over the last about 6 years now, it's really changed completely. I now look at body in a totally different way. And the way that I look at body, I don't see enough people see it in this way. It's such a simple thing. We run off of energy. And I look at the body as like the container for our energy. And if we want to have good energy, we got to have a good container. If our container is clogged, our container is dirty, our container is too small, we got to make it bigger. We got to clean it out. And I've never looked at it until I dealt with massive amount of mental health issues. Physical, on the outside, you couldn't really tell. I looked fine. Inside, it was suffering. And, I know we're talking about work, and I worked hard. I worked 60 to 80 hours a week. And no matter how much working out I did, I couldn't get the mind to be at peace. And no matter how successful I became, I realized there's something I needed to do. And this discovery has changed everything for me. Now when I look at the body, I look at the body as, if you want to have a healthy mind, you need to clean out that container. You need to get that body to not just be healthy, but you need that body to be able to flow. You need that body's energy to be able to be released. That basically means all the stuck emotions and stress and all these things that's in our body. If we let go of those things, our mind becomes clear. But we cannot clear our mind if we don't clear out the body. And I think a lot of people internally kind of realizes this, but I don't think it's been talked about enough. And now that I'm looking at it and I start to actually realize this, I pay attention, it's talked about, but it's not in the mainstream. And that's my goal. Is I want to bring this information. Everybody needs to know this, that if I want to go and clear my mind, if I want to stop compulsive overthinking, I need to relax my body. If I want to get rid of anxiety, I need to get rid of the tension in my body. Instead of looking at, ways to just solve it through the mind and then just feel like they're hitting a wall.
I feel like even when I look at my journey, because I've been someone that's always been interested in fitness, maybe since I'm like 16 years old. And I remember it was about the look, right? You kind of want to get the physique. And I remember I would do things like bench pressing, and I got to a point where I hurt my shoulder while working out. And as I was training, it's almost like I was putting stress on my body or anxiety on my body. But that was kind of the mainstream thing, right? You were told like, yeah, you gotta hit the gym, you gotta work hard. And I'd be curious to know, with this new perspective, are there some things that we should maybe question in the way, if I've been on autopilot thinking like, yeah, I need to hit the gym, lift some heavy weights, and just focus on that, are there things I should challenge or think differently to be better at creating this container that is healthy, as opposed to maybe using up the container in an unhealthy way?
I think one of the biggest things is letting go of this idea that we need to always force our body. I think this idea of forcing our body to perform it was flawed to start off with. It's like, if we force our body to get stronger, then we also force in everything else that we do. We are also forcing in our mind. And when we're having to go ahead and force through life, now we force people to do things they don't want to do. We force nature to do things that it's not designed to do. We go and force everything. But it starts off with not forcing our body. When we force our body, it's like, it doesn't feel comfortable. It's like, when we really look at it, who wants to be forced all the time? And yet, most people, nobody's forcing them. They are forcing themselves. They are forcing themselves. And so therefore, it's like so much pressure. And we look at stress, and we look at anxiety, and we look at all this stuff, all this mental health problems. Where's all this pressure coming from? Themselves. Why are you forcing yourself? Because I have to. This is just, I need to keep up. With what? It's like people have this idea of looking at life like it's a race that they got to force themselves. So when it comes to working out, I realize we can get in actually really great shape without having to force our body. There's a big difference between challenging and forcing. Challenging means you push your body past comfort. Forcing means you're getting your body borderline to injury. You're getting your body to do something that doesn't feel good anymore. We don't gain from forcing the body. We gain through consistency. So there's a role that I play now in my training. And no matter if somebody's wanting to weight lift, if they're doing any type of body weight training or just any type of physical training, 70% max effort. Go to 70 and go to 70 every day. It's better to do 70% every single day than to do 100% once in a while. And that's what happens with people. They do 100% once in a while, and then they burn out, they get injured, they get tired, and then they quit for a while. They get out of shape, and they come back, and they go 110% because they want to catch up, only to go ahead and do it for a short period. But if they just stayed at 70, they get the results and much more. They never lose the results. It's like a compound effect.
Now, Mike, I listen to this and I can't help but make a parallel to how this is how we operate in the workplace. Like, we'll show up on a Monday and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to crush a to-do list. I got a ton of emails waiting. I got a ton of meetings. I need to do more. I need to stay up late. I need to put in like 16-hour days. And there's like that hustle culture that kind of parallels this fitness culture. And, you know, people are going all out, but then we seem to be reaching these burnout levels. We seem to be filled with anxiety. And I'm wondering if there's a bit of a connection here about the way our culture operates and if it's even the best way to do it.
You know, there's that one line, the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. And I believe the parallel is exactly that. It's a mirror. Here's something interesting. So we'll go and follow somebody who's successful. We've listened to some really high-level entrepreneur that says you got to work 12-hour days. You got to work 16-hour days sometimes. If that's what it takes. You want to succeed, you got to do it. Maybe for that person, they're a serial entrepreneur. They've developed the ability, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say they developed the ability to be able to work 14, 16 hours days because they are doing what they really, really love. They optimized everything. Now they're able to crank it out. But now somebody else who's trying to copy that model and work 14, 16 hours, they can't handle the amount of stress. You see, it's not that we should only work 6 hours and 7 hours or 8 hours or 10. There's no actual number placed on this. It's actually based on the amount of resiliency that we can handle, the stress resiliency. Because see, let's say if I can work 10 hours and I feel calm, but somebody else can only work 7 hours and now they get stressed. Now they feel so much tension in their body. Then they need to relax after 7 hours. Because if they work 8, 9, and 10, they're pushing it. But if I work 7 hours and I feel still calm, then I can go 8, 9, and 10. You see, we got to develop the ability to be able to stay calm. We got to be able to be relaxed. We got to be in flow. And then we can last long. It's like telling somebody, you know, is it right for that person to run 20 miles? Well, if they've been training, then yes. But for somebody else, maybe no. You see, it's based on that. And I think so many people, instead of actually doing the proper training, they just assume that my job is if I want to succeed, I need to go and push it that hard. But they don't realize that actually they just need to learn how to be able to let go and decrease the amount of stress in the way they work by not pushing so hard in the beginning. Learning how to release the tension when it comes up. Become aware of it. I think a lot of people just push it down. They try to actually avoid the fact that they just got triggered because they don't want it to become a thing and they just want to keep going and they store it. And then it just blows up later on. And a lot of times it blows up on their family when they go home. Or they try to take it out of the gym. They try to kill the weights. You know, they want to kill something.
Very aggressive.
So, yeah.
Well, I can't help but think of, like, for example, I love Spartan races, and these are obstacle course races that I would do. And there's one of them that's a 21-kilometer race. And, you know, if I would go and train for it, right, and I'd say, okay, I want to go run 21 kilometers, I couldn't do it. My knees would give out at around 6 kilometers. So I had to start at 6. But then if I practice at 6 and I do it well without too much stress, and then I could do it again, and then I could increase. And I would steadily, and I was actually pleasantly surprised on how quickly my body would adapt and would allow me to run longer distances, and the knee muscles and ligaments would adjust for this. Now, you talk about people being able to put in 10 hours of work without that stress, yet some people are still at the 7 hours, and then there's a bit of anxiety that builds up. Are we stuck there, or is it similar to what I'm explaining in running? Is there ways to build that capacity and exercise we can do to be able to operate at it without putting too much stress on, but still be able to expand the capacity if we have a lot that we want to do.
Absolutely, we can build it up. But the first step is to learn how to work without the stress. It's not that work is not going to have stress, but the way that we react to what's happening at work, the way that we react when we don't reach a timeline, when a certain expectation doesn't happen, how are we going to react? We can't control the market all the time. We can't control what people do, but we can control the way that we react. And imagine when somebody stops reacting to all of these things that are happening at work that isn't what they want, but they don't react. They are aware of what's happening, then they make the best decision they could. Now they can handle more, because every time when we react, what's actually happening? See, I studied this and I have a simple understanding. This is exactly what happens. When somebody's reacting, their body gets tense. And when their body gets tense, they trigger an emotion. The emotion comes into their mind, and now they have some type of thought, some type of complaint. They get angry, stories in their mind, and that story fuels more emotion. And all of this that's happening takes energy. It drains energy. It takes energy to go and have this emotion. You ever get mad, and then when you're done getting mad, you're like, oh man, that was draining. It's like, you didn't do much. Yeah, I just sat here and got mad, and now I'm drained and I'm tired. So now imagine people at work, draining their energy because they got stressed. See, just something as simple as that.
It feels obvious. If you when you've had a hard day at work, it's because you had maybe a boss that screamed at you and you didn't feel like you deserved it. You had some meetings with a lot of chaotic energy flying around. Those are usually what lead you to a bad day at work. Mike, I've had those days. Like, you had that day and you're like, you want to get home. What do you want to do? You want to just lay down, turn on a TV. The amount of cares you have left in your body, you're totally emotionally drained. And so to go work on a side hustle, to go and connect with some people, go networking, it's hard. And so I feel like we need to develop a way to protect ourselves against that, because of course it happens, or increase the capacity or clear the energy. What are some of the things we could be doing to help with this?
There's one specific thing. When we stop reacting, that basically means we are teaching our body how to let go, how to relax. So there's a reaction that's going to happen and we get tense. We just need to relax. How do we do that? Literally by doing practices that help with relaxation. By getting rid of this excess energy that's pent up like a bomb that's ready to explode. Instead of having that explode on people, explode on the situation, let's just release it ourselves. Let's release it in a healthy way. And so, there are so many practices out there that were created for just this, because this is something that people have been dealing with for forever, thousands and thousands of years. What I did was I looked at all these practices like yoga, like qigong, meditation, Wim Hof breathing, and so forth, EFT, emotional freedom technique, and different types of massages and so forth. This goes on and on. And I look and I go, okay, these are all cool in different ways, and they all help in different ways. What can I do to go ahead and get the most results? So this way I can be more clear in my mind, and I can be more relaxed in my body and not be so reactive. And what I realized is certain practices, when you combine everything together in a certain way, we can release the tension. We can retrain our body to not constantly be tense, to actually be in that parasympathetic nervous system. But it's not enough just to talk about it. What somebody literally needs to do is they need to wake up every morning and get their body to feel relaxed. And then throughout the day, a little more relaxed. It's just one practice. Do it again the next day, the next day. And before you know it, they start to actually change the way they naturally feel. Because it's not that people are always relaxed. It's only something happens and they're reacting. In reality, they're not even relaxed to start off with. They're always at a borderline, some type of stress. And they go from normal stress to super high stress and back to normal stress. But if we can go ahead and drop that baseline, get them to go from this normal stress to feeling calm. And then from calm, they'll experience stress once in a while, but then they drop it back down and go back to calm. Now calm becomes the new baseline, not this normal stress. And the way we reprogram the body to do that is the same way that we programmed the body to do that. How did we program it? By getting stressed and not doing anything about it, and getting the body used to being stressed. By being okay with the fact that we're constantly stressed at this job. Let's just stick it out for another couple years. And we program the body to do it, to be stressed all the time, to have that to be the normal state. All we do is now do exactly the same thing, but let's program the body to be calm. So what do? Wake up every morning, do our stretches, our breathing, our tapping, do all the stuff to go ahead and get the body to relax. We meditate, and now the body's relaxed. We go to work, we do our normal thing. Next morning we wake up and we do the same thing. And over time, our body now is conditioned to a new state of being. The new state of being is relaxed, it's calm. Now, here's the magic part. This is the part that most people I find is really surprised. When our body is calm and relaxed, our mind is calm and relaxed and focused. Why? How's our mind focused? Because our body's calm and relaxed. Well, because we don't got this crazy chaotic energy inside bouncing around, causing all these crazy thoughts to fly in. Literally, our energy in our body is calm. Our heart rate is calm. Our breathing is calm. Therefore, nothing is constantly running through the mind. And so when we have a clear mind, whatever it is that we want to focus on, we have the ability. There's not constantly distractions coming through. So now imagine when we now are that focused at work. You got a task, you're not tempted by your mind to go check on some, post or some social media or some random website or the random advertisements that pop up on your screen. You see them, but you're not tempted because you're holding one thought in your mind, and that's this task at hand. I'm gonna knock it out, and I don't care what comes in front of me. We have the ability to do that now.
It's almost like we forget that we have that ability. And when you say it, it feels like it's relatively simple. Like we're not talking about something that's overly complicated. It's not like you need to be able to run this 21 kilometers I was talking about. Like this is something we have access to right now. When I made the introduction, I talked about how it feels, and there's, I believe, some reality about the pace of things today. The expectation of things today seems to be accelerating. So things are moving fast, change is happening fast. The demands in the workplace feel like they need us to be operating at a quicker pace. But it's almost like what you're saying is if we do slow down, we end up being able to do more. If that's the case, why isn't it so obvious to us that we need to do this in order to move forward faster?
That's a good question. Here's the reason why. When we do this and we start to connect to our body and we start to learn how to relax, we gotta face. When I say face, it's more like we gotta feel all the stuff that we didn't want to feel. All the years of stuff that we just literally avoided, that's all packed in our body. One by one, they're showing up. And people don't want to feel it. It sucks. Oh man, that trauma that happened that I didn't deal with, that person that died that was supposed to be. And then eventually they just go, oh, the way that my parents treated me or what happened when I was growing up, nope, never looked at that. Now 20 years later, oh wow, I'm still dealing with it. They don't want to deal with it. So they rather go ahead and just look for something that's simple. They don't realize that by dealing with it, it not only unlocks their ability to focus, their ability to be calm, now everything in their life changes. Now their decision, every single decision, people don't realize is based on the way that they see themselves. And the way that they see themselves is defined by the way that they feel, is defined by their perspective, and all this is connected directly to their emotions, connected to their body, because the body is the subconscious mind. And so if you want to change your mind, you got to change your body. You can't just leave your body and expect your mind to change, expect perspectives to change. Right? People want to be successful, but you got to have a successful perspective, which is your mind. And if you want to change your mind, you can't just hold on to this scared body, but then have a successful mind. It doesn't work that way. So you got to deal with it. And the most successful people, they have dealt with it. They may not need to be experts at it, but they just need to do what is necessary for their body to be relaxed enough. It's not about having to master. Some people love it. Not everybody wants to. But they just want to get their body to at least be calm enough so this way they have that clarity, they have that focus, they have that confidence to do what they want to do. They don't have to be a master at it. They just got to go ahead and make it a habit. There are some very powerful but simple habits that people can do every single day, and they will start to move towards this. But that first one, that's the hurdle. They got to be able to be okay and face that thing that they've been avoiding. And it's inside each person. And when they're slowed down, when they don't got anything going on, and they're just sitting there, you know, not needing to check the phone for the 5th time over the past 2 minutes, now they're like, oh wow, what am I actually avoiding? Oh right, there's this weird feeling that's there, but I don't want to look at it. Now what I do is I help them. Okay, I know it's tough. Let me show you a couple tricks, a couple tips here to help make it a little bit easier. You're still gonna have to face it yourself. I can't face it for you, but I can help make it a little bit easier. You know, so this way they can do it.
This is fascinating, and I almost feel like, you know, we talk about when the whole lockdown started happening, it forced a lot of people to slow down. And I feel like a lot of issues started coming up for a lot of people. Like, this was a difficult time for a lot of people, but I feel like half of that might have been just the fact that with so much slowdown, you were forced to look at these unresolved issues. And I feel like not all the time we were properly equipped to handle this. Like, I can just remember the first time I had a coach, and one of the tasks that they gave me was just to take a 20-minute walk, just being present. And I never did it, like, because I just didn't want to face stuff. It was a catch-22, where it's like I didn't want to face stuff, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I was ready, equipped to face stuff. So, on one hand, I love that we're suggesting practices that everybody here.
No, I'm about to take a shower. Are y'all in bed?
Mindfulness and meditation, yoga, anything that makes us more present. But when these kind of issues come up, I mean, I know you do some
Where's
coaching
Carter?
with people, but are there some simple resources people can be looking for to feel more? I can use the word courage.
Did y'all clean that room up?
Lack the courage to go and face these
Everything's.
issues. Are there tools we could use that would allow us to feel more
Turn the light off so y'all can go to
stepping into
bed.
this brave path, which means that we're going to face these issues?
Well, I find that there's books, there's
Wait,
videos,
what's wrong?
there's a lot of courses on this. But I think the key thing is having other people
The
around,
Roku?
doing it together. Because when you're facing something, you're gonna feel like you're very alone. Like this is your problem. You're carrying this whole weight on your shoulders. And
What's
when
the
you see
problem?
that somebody else has something similar,
What's the problem?
it's almost like you were able to share this load with them, even though they're carrying their own. Yet there's this thing like, hey, we are carrying this thing together. And moving forward that way is very, very powerful. I think having the community, having the support. And the thing is, like you said, you know, there's a lot of people that are facing this by default just because of the whole lockdown thing. And coming together and all wanting the same intention, which is let's go ahead and clear what's inside and just be a better version of myself. I think having that and moving forward together, that's something that
Is it
I
taken care of?
figured out many years ago. And
Alright, your mama said her head hurting, so y'all gotta
just
stop all
go
that
and
noise.
just be there for each person. And I've done my best, and I've helped a lot of people in person. And eventually I'm going, okay, I want to spread this out. So I created a training group. I created a coaching group. And I'm on there, like, I check my phone 10 times a day in that group. And we share all kinds of stuff. It allows people just to go ahead and share what's going on. It's a way for people to be accountable to their practice, because they know that when they post it, that other people are going to see it, and that they don't post it, that people are expecting it. They know that I'm on the other end, and I reply back to almost every single post of someone doing something like a practice. Every single day. I've been doing this for 2 years. No VAs, no person trying to pretend to be me. People go, why don't you just hire? No. I'm gonna do it myself, but it takes so much time. Right. But this is what I love to do. This is what people need. You know, it's not an auto bot. I don't have a bot thing. It's me typing away. But that's what really people need. Is they need that personal touch. They need to know
Why I'm
that
facing the
talking
lights?
to
What's
another
wrong?
human, and this human understands me. You know, it's different than an app. I think apps are powerful and you know, there's a lot of uses for them. But when we're dealing with something that's so human, that's like, it has to be so relatable. The best thing is to have another human to share
Y'all go to bed.
and to guide them along.
And you know, you look at the statistics, it's nobody's alone in this. This is a big thing, and a lot of people are going through it. And what I love here is for anybody who feels that they want to have their hand held maybe a little more, I'm going to make sure we have some links so people can discover more of the work you do, like for those who are interested. And of course, for me, I have two of my best friends, and we have an accountability group. So we just get together every week and we talk about our challenges, we push each other forward, and we just share our learnings and our struggles.
What are you doing, Carter?
That's been a big support in making me move forward into the superhuman I want to be as I navigate this journey.
Y'all supposed to be
For
quiet in that
everybody
room.
listening, you know, find ways that
Y'all
you
chill
can connect
out.
with other people, and you'll realize we're not alone in this. There's a lot of us who are dealing with similar issues, and what I really like about the content we cover today is just bringing a bit of these myths
Do not
that are
play
happening
with
around
any
the world.
effects.
We feel like we need
Go
to
to
move
bed.
fast. We have to force it. We have to really break ourselves to be able to progress. When, you know, looking at what happened in the fitness industry is we're seeing this seep into our way of being productive, but really we need to be more in flow. And what Mike's been teaching us throughout the session here is about realizing that it's not about going 110% for a short burst and then ending up with a bit of recovery time necessary. It's about the consistency that you want to be able to build. So
Alright,
what
take
does
it.
look
Okay,
like when you go
why you
out
still
and
playing on the
say
iPad?
every day consistently? You don't need to be going
Go
up
put
and
it
down
up.
in your productivity, but you can be more constant. A big thing that Mike shared as well is just the way our body feels is going to affect the way our mind feels. So if we're looking to deal with the anxiety, if we're looking to deal with the scatterbrain, we need to look at ways to relax the body. We've been so accustomed of carrying this anxiety, carrying this stress as a norm, that anything that tips the bucket over is going to make us explode.
Okay, why y'all making all that noise? Stop, be quiet.
Practices that Mike outlined today are things we should be aware of, but again, powerful reminders
Carter,
about the
please don't make me have
meditation,
to come up there and
yoga,
whoop
the
him.
qigong,
Okay?
being more present, slowing down
No,
a little, knowing
y'all
that
better
these
stop.
are going to be the fuel
Chill
that
out.
will
I
get
told
you
your
to
mama
move
head
fast
hurt.
and
Stop
more
all that noise
effectively
and go to
and
sleep.
more gracefully for the things that the world really needs us to do, which is thinking with our highest capacity to solve the biggest problems. And when we do this from a place of flow, so much more gets done. And these are the practices that really make you a superhuman in the workplace. Mike, I just want to say a big thank you for bringing this wisdom forward to the audience here. I think it's a much needed message. I was so excited to bring you on because I know that you went through your transformation by applying these principles, and it's been highly effective. And for everybody else that's listening,
Turn this
I hope you
effect off
take
the
this
phone.
seriously, because we need healthy, productive, focused, with less anxiety individuals that can take on these world
Turn it
challenges
off
and
right.
make it better.
I don't
in
see
the
that. I don't
process.
see no
Once
effects.
again, if you want to be able
Turn
to
it
connect with
off.
Mike, we're going to have a ton of links in the show notes so you can find out about his group, his teachings,
Alright.
and get connected
Thank
with
you.
him individually. And of course,
Alright.
stay superhuman and keep that anxiety lower with these powerful techniques.
Y'all go to bed.
Thank you so much. Once again, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Superhumans at Work.
Carter.
I'm very grateful for all of you
Go to
who
bed.
tune in on a
Stop.
regular basis, listening to these amazing
Keep.
interviews with these guests that I get to find. Now, if you're subscribed to the show,
Okay,
please
y'all
leave
can
us a
turn the light
review
off.
if you
Put that
can,
letter
and
bars
share it
on.
with friends so that we can spread the message and get more people to be able to learn of these fantastic ideas that they can bring in their everyday life. And these episodes, of course, are brought to you by Mind Valley. When you go to mindvalley.com/superhuman, you get to discover the transformational education that we get to deliver, where we bring the best technology, the best teachers, and ensure that it teaches you what leads to a truly incredible life. Thanks again for
Y'all
tuning
have the
in
letter bars
to
on?
the show, and until next time, stay superhuman.
My name is Jason Campbell, and this is Superhumans at Work, a Mind Valley podcast. A Mind Valley podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Jason Mark Campbell. Welcome back. Today I'm bringing a guest that's been on the show before and blew our minds when we talked about Fix This Next. We went through a lot of concepts that were so powerful for any entrepreneur out there, and I was was so blown away that I wanted to bring him back today to speak about his latest book, which just came out, which is Get Different: Marketing That Can't Be Ignored. Now, a lot of us are aware of marketing. We see what's happening in the marketplace. We become numb. Like, there's so many things that are happening, bombarded towards us. Our attention is limited. So this book is going to get us an idea of what needs to be done to be successful in marketing today, how it's different than before, and the man who knew it is Mike Michalowicz. If you're not familiar with this man, he has written several books, launched 3 multi-million-dollar companies before the age of 35. He's an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, and has created the Profits First professional and organization that is designed to support accountants, bookkeepers, and other financial professionals to substantially differentiate themselves in the market, as well as the Tremendous Group, a consulting firm to help coaching practices for coaching businesses. Several books have been released by this man, all tackling business aspects for entrepreneurs that want to grow, want to scale, and want to make an impact. And today, our focus is going to be marketing. Mike, welcome to the show.
Jason, it is awesome to be with you, brother.
I'm excited to have you back. We had a lot of fun last night. We talked about, I called it the chakra system, or Maslow's pyramid of needs for business, about what are the things we need to fix as we grow the business and where are the priorities that need to sit. And now you've came up with a book around marketing. So I kind of want to take it there. What got you inspired to see something happening in the world of marketing that wasn't done right that made you feel like this book needed to happen?
Yeah, I saw a small business and we started surveying audiences. This goes back 7 years ago. That was the inception of the book. That's pre-COVID. That's when things were live. And I was asking audiences what their primary source of leads were, rate your leads. And hand after hand would go up saying, oh, I get 80% of my leads from client referrals or 100% from client referrals. And at first it's like, this is amazing. That's such an acknowledgement to your clients that you're exceptional. And then I said, oh my gosh, we are becoming dependent on our clients to be our marketing arm. What if clients decide not to refer us business? And isn't our client feeling so impressed by us that they feel compelled to market us? Aren't they affirming we need to get the word out? And I also ask these businesses, well, tell me about your company. And they were telling me, one after the other, I'm better than my competition in response time, quality of my work. They were better in some capacity. I said, wow, you're better, and your clients are trying to market you. We need to get the word out. Marketing is the ultimate act of kindness. If you're superior, spread the word. And this is not about strong-arming or manipulating clients. It's making prospects aware of what's available. If you're a superior choice, at least make them aware so they can make an educated decision. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I felt it was so important to do it. And I spent those 7 years to figure out what is the essence of effective marketing for small business.
I mean, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, growing up, it's interesting. My father had a small family business in the swimming pool retail space, and
Carter, did your mom tell you stop?
Mouth is all I need. I don't need to do anything else. But was doing some quality work, and I was the one always trying to push for marketing, and it was really hard. There's a big block when it comes to marketing, especially for small business owners that are like, yeah, if it's good, it's going to sell itself, and it's kind of like an old school mentality, is it, or is it just like we have certain resistance around marketing, and how do we overcome that?
There's an innate fear in all of us. Some of us are truly content with the size of our business and we don't want to change a thing. And I respect that. But the innate fear we have goes back to the cave dweller days. So if you rewind in human history, there was a time that you and I, Jason, may have been in the same tribe. And if you say to the tribe, we're going to go hunt woolly mammoth. And I say, well, no guys, I got a better idea. Let's go after a saber-toothed tiger. We're going this way. I am putting myself at massive risk because the tribe has to work collectively to that woolly mammoth. The collaborative effort was king. And if someone rejected it, they were rejected from the tribe. You and the rest of the tribesmen would say, get out of here, and now I'm out in the tundra, which meant certain death. So there was a time in human experience that being different, standing out, meant certain death. Now, fast forward to today, our reptilian mind still exists. And so there's this innate vibe that goes through us when I say I need to stand out in the market. There's this little vibe saying, you're going to get rejected, it's embarrassing, you're going to die, because we have that visceral feeling. So there's this weird bipolar thing. We know the only way to gain ground in modern society is to distinguish ourselves, to raise the flag so people can see it. So we have this past compulsion of not getting noticed and this current demand or desire to get noticed. So we want to be noticeable without being noticed. We want to stand out without having to stand out. That's what I see small businesses facing. And the way to overcome that fear is to realize that if you are better than the competition, desire not to stand out because it means certain death, to realize that it is actually the ultimate act of kindness to stand out.
I love that. I really do. You know, some of the programming.
What is that noise?
I already have an automatic response, which is like the tallest blade of grass is the one that gets
Huh?
cut down, right?
That's right.
So you have like all these expressions we get told about, you know, being different, standing out.
Get
that
on your
make us
side of bed,
feel
go to sleep,
kind of
Carter.
that fear. And there's also this aspect if you're marketing, and this might be because I've been exposed to so many ads online, but I'm sure it's been like this all the time. But there's a lot of instances where people maybe over market or they're pushing themselves too much in their marketing. Where
What
it
is that
shows
noise?
That they may be trying too hard. And
I'm gonna tell. Listen to me. Shut up.
you want to have to these people that try too hard to be like, I'm the best.
Keep playing.
It gets
And when I
better.
get out there, you can really catch it.
Line, you need to travel
Take your ass to sleep
and be different without
and
being
lay
that
down.
person that walks into a party and says, oh, hey, everybody, you should all know that I'm cool, and so you
Right.
just come talk to me.
Yeah, desperation is so unattractive. That's the second component. And as I was studying what makes effective marketing, there's three components. One is differentiating, getting noticed. The second one was attracting, getting noticed for the right reason. So I could come to your podcast and dress like Bozo the Clown, and anyone watching the video like, oh my god, that's so different. And then they make Bucky the Clown. That can be repelling. That's the guy like, hey, I'm so cool, everyone, meet me. That's repelling. What is attractive is when we speak the language of our target audience, the people we're trying to serve. If we have something that's satisfies what they have, that is simply compelling or intriguing, if it's entertaining, if it's educational, as long as it speaks to the customer, they'll stay engaged. The second that wears off, they're going to lose their attention. The guy who walks in the room with a really unique suit's going to get noticed, but he better not be like, hey, I'm the cool guy here. He should say, hey, everyone, I brought everyone a gift, or I got a 6-pack of beer to share, or something like that. That now becomes attractive. And that's what our marketing message needs to do too. It needs to be of service in some capacity for people to stay engaged. And by the way, Jason, this happens in milliseconds. I was studying how our brain works, and there's these elements called reticular formation and the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex and hypothalamus, all working in concert. And what happens is our brain can process information so quick. We give these things, I call them blink tests. Every 1/10 of a second, we're incrementally analyzing, is this of value to me? Should I continue? Even this podcast. The person listening right now is saying, am I getting value from this, or should I hop on email? And maybe that's not a conscious thought, but subconsciously, am I still attracted? So when we do something different, we need to be noticed, but realize you only get attention for 1/10 of a second. You immediately say, hey, I got a 6-pack for everyone. And that's going to satiate them for a period of time, but then to a certain point, it's going to wear off. How do you stay attractive long enough to get to the final stage, which is direct? The key here with attraction is be attractive, but don't overextend your step.
What are y'all doing?
Be rapid.
I like
What?
Even as like example of saying
I'm
six pack, it's like, yeah, you can get people's attention.
When I get out there,
but then
I'm gonna whip both of y'all asses because I
and
told both of y'all to stop.
It just makes me think about, you know, a lot of us say like, hey, we should
Guys,
start
listen to
doing
me.
the offer to get people
This is my very last time telling y'all
to
this.
you that you're like already
Please don't make me have to come take off
that we talked about.
because I walk.
it's a lot
Shut
more
up.
than just getting the attention, because everything that happens once you have that attention.
Y'all think I'm joking, but I'll come up there and whoop both of y'all. I'll take off from work to come whoop both of y'all. Y'all better stop.
Very successful for people to do in marketing, so that they can get attention in today's market.
Now let me hear one more noise out of there. Both of you go get it. I don't care who did it.
I'm sure there's some key things that we can do, or that have been proven to be effective ways to show up.
Well, the key is to first not do what the industry's doing. I remember the first Hey Friend email I got. I read through it, and within a second, I'm like, oh, this is marketing smart. The next Hey Friend I got went in my spam box, and every subsequent one has been deleted. So don't do what everyone else is doing, is the first tip. The second tip is we can take ideas from other industries. So if I'm targeting one community, here, I'll give you an example. I'm an author, my contemporaries are authors, they all email in black and white text. It's like, okay, there's what's not to do. Don't do a blast in black and white text because it's visible or habituated. Some people will see it, but people get so many of them, it's going into the spam box. So I said, well, black versus white. What if I just put white text on a white background? You can't even read it. And I'm like, oh, this is the opportunity. I sent out an email in the promotion of my new book that said, in black text, said, you've received the first ever invisible ink email. Click and drag below to reveal the message. And when you drag over white text, it pops. And that email, the open rate skyrocketed, the engagement was the big one. 5 times the click-through rate. And it wasn't like the message was different, the way it was delivered was different. It was attractive because it was something you hadn't seen before, but also it harkened into curiosity. It's like, what could this message be? It spoke back to when we were children and played games of passing messages and so forth. So that's a very compelling curiosity about type thing. And then when people opened it, it revealed a real simple direct, meaning what's the action take, the call to action. It said, now you read this, you learned 1 tips of thousands that are available, go to my website to get the rest of the tips. So we can take ideas that exist and do the opposite. There's many strategies I have, but one that comes to the top of mind is to do some R&D on other marketing, and I mean rip off and do look at other people's marketing and say, oh, that's a good idea. I'm in New Jersey. There's a bank based out of New Jersey called Commerce Bank that sold for $1 billion. It's the fastest growing bank locally of all time. What the owner did, this was back in the 70s. What he did is he noticed that banks were all the same. They had what's called bankers hours. They would close in the afternoons. They were open on weekends. He looked at a McDonald's. He took the idea from a fast food restaurant and said, well, first of all, we're going to have hours like them. But he took their best marketing idea. He noticed that McDonald's with the Happy Meals draw a lot of attention. You know, kids are pulling on their mom or dad's pant leg saying, I want to go to McDonald's to get that little toy. So as banks, he observed who were the people who was going to the bank with the parent driving. Well, it wasn't the kid. It was during the day. It was with the family dog. So mom or dad were now pulling up with the family dog. And he said, oh, we're not going to have a Happy Meal. We're going to have biscuits, Happy Biscuits. And so you would pull into a Commerce Bank, and when you got your receipt, there would be a biscuit for your dog. It resulted in a Pavlovian effect, meaning there was minivans driving by Commerce Bank, and these dogs were salivating and barking to go to the bank. It's like the ultimate marketing idea.
Be
Took
quiet.
an idea from someone else.
Go to sleep.
The first employee in his industry. It results in $1 billion. I can't promise a $1 billion valuation. I can promise game-changing marketing. If you introduce something into your industry that no one's doing in your industry, someone else is doing elsewhere.
I love that idea because you don't need to necessarily reinvent the wheel, and you can be so unique in your industry of doing it because some of those industries are so much more involved than the one that we might be operating in. I remember for me, when I was supporting marketing at the family business, I went to look at what realtors were doing because they were much more sophisticated in sales and marketing because the competition is really high. And in the swimming pool business, it's not as high. So I would take how do they do their sales, how do they optimize their processes in real estate, and then I applied that, and it made it so much more effective, so much more efficient. And then you basically were what? Showing up with, so usually with a violent example saying showing up with a gun at a knife fight, but I'm going to say showing up at a cake at a tea party. You know, bring a long line,
Yeah.
But that being said, would you say there are certain industries, you mentioned McDonald's being a really good one, are there certain industries that you think, wow, these are the ones you should be looking at if I'm looking for inspiration in doing R&D marketing?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's anyone who's not your industry. So the less like your industry, the better. I'm an author. I went to a cleaning conference. I happened to be speaking there, so it was a great invite. I attended the entire conference, and I remember one of the experts that came up in the cleaning industry, just for cleaning products, he said to the audience, he goes, if you put 800 number on the back of the cleaning product, studies show that you get a 10% increase in sales because people call the 800 number to say it's a pre-recorded message, you're evaluating your product, you can actually sell them through the pre-recorded message. So I was like, oh my gosh. So on the next book I wrote, it's called Puppy Plan, I put an 800 number on the back of the pre-recorded message. This is before Amazon was really popular and Barnes & Noble's was still bringing a lot of business. And sure enough, 10% increase in sales. And I think I was the first author to do something like that. So the key for all of us is get outside your industry as far out as possible. You know, if you're selling pools, a spa guy, selling hot tubs.
Peace out.